So can you make a deal with terrorism? Can you make a deal with people that are committed to destroying you, to killing every last Jew? Whilst the world is telling Israel that she's got to make a deal, you got to make a ceasefire, both sides are wrong. Take a look at what former President George W. Bush has to say about the October 7th attacks on Israel.
While we're in this beautiful place, our hearts are in Israel. We saw clips of you rallying the nation after the worst terrorist strike on American soil. I wonder what were your thoughts when you heard that Israel was attacked by Hamas over the weekend?
My thoughts were that we need to support Israel. No ands, ifs, or buts. This was an unprovoked attack by terrorist people willing to kill innocent people to achieve an objective. Hamas is a political organization. They do not reflect the majority of the Palestinians. And don't be surprised if Israel takes whatever action is necessary to defend herself. And it's going to be ugly for a while. But it's tough. It's tough. And I hope and pretty confident the United States will stand squarely with Israel. You know, going in the neighborhoods of Gaza is going to be tough. And, you know, he's got a very seasoned military, but they just called up 300,000 reservists, most of whom probably can't fire a rifle. And to the extent they'd be put in harm's way, it's going to be awfully difficult on the prime minister. But he's got to do what he's got to do. I mean, you're dealing with cold-blooded killers. And you can make all kinds of excuses why they are, but they are. And his job is to protect this country. And anyway, we'll find out what he's made out of.
Among the countries on the axis of evil that you defined during your presidency was Iran. To what extent is Iran responsible for the...
I don't know. I don't get the intelligence anymore. Their stated objective is the destruction of Israel. That's what the leaders say. And in this world, you got to take what they say seriously. And Iran's been pretty good at using surrogate terrorist groups, Hezbollah being the key one, of course. And therefore, the idea of using somebody else to achieve their objective doesn't surprise me. Again, I'm kind of a hardliner on all this stuff, but I never thought we should try to accommodate Iran any way, shape, or form. I always felt the objective ought to be to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon, to prevent a cataclysmic event in the Middle East. And these are the kind of people that if you show softness, they will take advantage of it. And we'll see. The United States needs to stand squarely with the president, with Netanyahu. And the administration start off on the right foot, it seems to me. Pretty bold statement, and that's good. And he's going to take some heat. You know, both parties have got isolationist tendencies, and you know, we shouldn't get involved. You know, who cares? Well, we should. We should care. And
what does the immediate future look like for Israel, in your view?
Immediate future doesn't look very bright, particularly if you're on the Hamas side. But it's going to be chaotic, and it's going to be, look, it's a democracy, and in a democracy, the people's voices matter, and there's going to be a weariness. You watch, the world's going to be, okay, let's negotiate. You know, Israel's got to negotiate. They're not going to negotiate. These people have played their cards. They want to kill as many Israelis as they can, and negotiating with killers is not an option for the elected government of Israel. And so we're just going to have to remain steadfast, but it's not going to take long. That's gone on too long. Surely there's a way to settle this through negotiations. Both sides are guilty. My view is one side is guilty, and it's not Israel.
We're coming up to the festival of Passover, and when we look at the story of Passover, there was no negotiating with the devil, with the evil, with Pharaoh. It was about let my people go. No compromises. And indeed, when God ultimately punishes the Egyptians, he passes over the homes of the Jewish people and he afflicts the firstborns of the Egyptians. The elite of the Egyptian society are killed. And in fact, that same thing follows a few days later, just 7 days later, when the Jewish people cross the Red Sea and the entire Egyptian army is wiped out. It's then that the Jewish people are free to live the rest of their lives. But this notion of making peace with the devil of somehow splitting it halfway down the middle just makes absolutely no sense. There's a cartoon out there where you see an American mediator sitting between Hamas and Israel, and Hamas is standing with a demand that says, "We demand to kill all the Jews." And the American mediator in the middle turns to the Israeli and he says to him, "Can you at least meet them in the middle?" Of course, if it wasn't so sad, this would actually be funny. The story of the Jewish people's history is that we have always thrived whenever we were strong against our enemies, and we have always failed whenever we've tried to make a deal with the devil. Those who fail to learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them. We cannot afford to make a mistake right now again.